This is 6.1, Operations on Functions Part 2, Composition of Functions. These symbols are what we call composition of functions. The first one, let's talk about it first. What this means is that you would take the G function and plug it in to the F function. This says F composition G. So you would take G and you would plug it in to F. On the second one, you would take F and plug it into the function G. So these are also the notations. The F functions evaluated at the G function. And then on this one, it's the G function evaluated at the F function. And we're going to do some examples here in a second. Our first example says find F of G of x if f of x equals x squared plus 2 and g of x equals x minus 6. Find the domain and range as well. So what this tells me, switch a different color, that I'm taking my G function and I'm plugging it in everywhere there's an x in my F function. So here's my G function, and I'm plugging in everywhere there's an x in my F function. So I would replace this x with x minus 6. And then I would simplify. You would have to FOIL this because remember, if you have a parenthesis squared, it means you have two of them. So you would FOIL this, so you do your first x times x, outer, inner, and last. And then don't forget to bring down that plus 2. So our answer would be x squared minus 12x plus 38. Then we have to find the domain and the range. Well, this one's a quadratic, so we know that our domain is negative infinity to positive infinity. Now we have to talk about our range. We know this one's pointing up because of the a being positive, so we know that it's pointing up, and so we know that it's going to positive infinity. And if you kind of forgot that, you can look at your graph or look at one of your foldables. So what you're looking for is you're looking for that lowest point. You're looking for your y value of your vertex. So if you remember how to find your vertex, it's negative b over 2a. So we'd have negative 12 over 2 times 1. Which is equal to 12 over 2, which is equal to 6. So that's our x value of our vertex. So to find the y value, we would plug that in. And so if you grab your calculator, you would have 6 squared minus 12 times 6 plus 38, and you get an answer of 2. So our lowest point, or our beginning point of our graph, is at the y value of 2, and it goes till infinity for our range. For our next problem, I want you to find g of f. So if the function f is equal to x minus 4, and the function g is equal to x squared minus 10, we also need to find domain and range on this. So what we're doing is we're taking the f function and plugging it in for g. So here's our f function, and we're taking it and we're plugging it into the g of x function for x. So you have x minus 4 squared minus 10. And again, remember, if you have parentheses squared, that means you have two of them, so you have to FOIL. X squared minus 4x plus 16 minus 10. Combine your like terms. Negative 4, we have negative 8x. 16 minus 10 gives us plus 6. Again, it's a quadratic, so our domain, negative infinity, positive infinity. Our range, so it's again pointing up because our a is positive. So we know we have a parenthesis. This one's going to be a bracket. Hopefully I put a bracket in the last one. I did not. We need to go back and change that to a bracket. Bracket 2, because that point's included. Hopefully some of you have already caught that and had already changed it. So anyway, let's go back to our range here. So we need to find our x value. So we have negative 8 over 2 times 1. So we have 8 over 2, which is 4. So that is the x value of our vertex. So now we need to plug that in. So grab your calculator and plug that in. So you have 4 squared minus 8 times 4 plus 6. And you get an answer of negative 10. So our range is from negative 10 to positive infinity. Now we're going to use those same functions and we're going to go the other direction. So I want you to use those same functions, except now we're going to find f of g of x, where f of x equals x minus 4 and g of x equals x squared minus 10. So same functions, we're just going the other direction. So you're taking the g function and plugging it into the f function. So you're taking this, plugging it in for x. So we have x squared minus 10 minus 4, which would just be x squared minus 14. So domain, it's a quadratic again, negative infinity, positive infinity. Your range, so we don't have a b, so you would have a negative 0 on top because b is 0 times 2 times 1. So 0 over 2, which is just 0. So our x-coordinate of our vertex is 0. We plug this in. Our y-coordinate is going to be negative 14. So our range is negative 14 to infinity. Again, remember the bracket there. Okay, so the next couple problems that we want to do, we want to change the instructions a little bit. It says if f of x equals x minus 4, we're going to use the same functions though, and g of x equals x squared minus 10, find f evaluated at g evaluated at 2. So now instead of the x, we actually have a number, which actually makes this a lot easier. What this means is I'm going to take this 2, and I'm going to plug it in to the g function and get an answer. Then I'm going to take that answer and plug it into the f function. So let's go ahead and plug in 2 to the g function. We would have 2 squared minus 10. So we would have 4 minus 10, which is negative 6. Now we take that negative 6 and we plug it into the f function. So we would use this function. We would say negative 6 minus 4. And so our answer, erase this a little bit, negative 6 minus 4, our answer here would be negative 10. On the next one it says evaluate the function g at the function g evaluated at 3. So what you're doing is you're taking 3, you're plugging it into the g function, getting that answer, and then plugging it back into the g function again. So let's start with the g function, and we have 3 squared minus 10. So we have 9 minus 10. It's negative 1. And then we're going to take that answer and plug it back in, and we would have negative 1 squared minus 10, so you'd have 1 minus 10, and you'd get negative 9. Okay, so this last problem, I want you to pause after I write it down. I want you to figure it out, and then I want you to unpause it and see if you got the right answer. So the function g evaluated at the function f evaluated at 2. So you can plug 2 into f, get that answer, and then plug that answer into g. So go ahead and pause it here. Okay, hopefully you've already worked the problem and you're ready to go. You have your answer. So when you guys plug 2 into f, you did 2 minus 4, and you got negative 2. And then you plug that answer into g, and you have negative 2 squared minus 10. So you had 4 minus 10, which is negative 6. And that will conclude 6.1 notes.